Let's get ready for a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Black space is a place for us.
Real people with real issues.
Discussing real topics.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Good evening, everybody. I am your host of Black Space Live, the Lamar Penny Finley. Joining me tonight for the conversation is, do Black women respect Black male authority? Joining me tonight is some amazing individuals. But before I introduce them, I need y'all to do me a favor. Listen, I need y'all to like, share. First of all, like and share this good content, and subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. We are a growing Black channel of Black professionals and great thoughts. Share it. But in other words, what I'm trying to say is, don't be selfish with this content. As my nephew used to say all the time, if you are stingily to people, then they will be stingily to you. But tonight, joining me tonight, some heavy hitters. First off, returning China, Missouri, and my boy John. So I would like to take y'all this opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and tell people what y'all want them to know about y'all. We're gonna start with China, who's not a stranger to the show. Miss China, my Mississippi Mississippian.
So we're gonna. So it's
Texasipian.
It's Texipian. Okay, so
Texasipian. There we go.
That's a real word, or we've made it one. But hi guys, hi Penny, John, Zuri. I'm so excited about tonight. It's been a minute, so I'm ready to dig in. It's gonna be a good show.
All right, Miss Zuri.
Hey everybody, it's Zuri. I'm back again. I'm excited about the show. A great topic tonight.
All right, and John, this is your first time, John. Tell us, you're gonna have to expound a little bit more than the ladies because they're regular. So I need you to expound.
Well, yeah, my name is John Sanders. I was just given the name Bidiako, so some people refer to me as Bidiako. I just moved to Ghana, West Africa, so Bidiako is my official Ghanaian name. But in the States, people refer to me as John. I'm extremely enthusiastic about the show and the topic that we're dishing out tonight.
All right, Bidiako. I like that, man. I dig that.
Bidiako.
Are you in Accra?
Yeah, Accra and Cape Coast.
Accra. I always mispronounce it.
Yeah.
That's on my list. I've been to Western Africa just once. I've been to Eastern Africa quite a few times, but I've only been to western part of the continent one time. But that's definitely on my list.
Absolutely.
So. But we're gonna jump right into it. For those of you that are watching the show live, feel free to comment. We'll be kind of having that discussion. But prior to this conversation, as we were kind of setting up, there was a very lively discussion on the Facebook chat about this very conversation. So I'm gonna kind of jump there, and then we're just going to kind of dig into it. But simple yes or no, we can dive in. Simple yes or no to the title. We're gonna start with Miss China. Simple yes or no. Do Black women respect male authority? We'll expound later, but just simple yes or no.
Yes.
You say yes. Zuri, what say you?
No.
John, what say you?
I can't say yes or no. Black women, in my perspective, are not a monolith. I believe that there are a wide range of perspectives, and it's all contingent on.
We're gonna jump into it, but I just need a
yes. Got you.
So you're saying you don't have a yes or no?
I don't have a yes or no. I think that's a very layered question.
Okay. We can jump into the layers. Somebody's already in the chat saying, "Are we ready?" Mike Connect. Shout out to you, Mike Connect, for jumping in, tuning in. But I want to go to the group chat, to the chat, just kind of jump off this conversation. Because somebody saw the title of the show and just. Somebody said, "What is this? Male authority hogwash?" Is what Lupita said. She's actually supposed to be on the show, so if she jumps in at some point, we'll kind of get a perspective. But she said, "What is this?" She said, "Male authority hogwash." She then put the definition of authority: the power or right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. He has sole authority over his subordinates. She says, now no one has the right to order anyone around regardless of gender. She said, this type of relationship dynamic where a man orders a woman around is a form of domestic violence. She said, the type AB relationship where a woman has lived under a man for him to feel masculine. Somebody then said, then why do women get jobs if they don't want to be ordered around? The conversation continued. How do you wait, this is this grammar is not, they were typing too fast, I'm guessing. How are you reaching with this comment? Think, oh, that was yours, Zuri?
Yeah, I said I was typing fast, so I understand.
No worries.
Yeah.
So we since you were, we got to the portion where you were talking, let's just start there. She's saying it's Laquita's saying it's hogwash, Zuri, and you picked up and you said, was it you that said, then why do women get jobs they don't want to be ordered around?
Yes.
Let's jump right in, Zuri. I mean, come on, let's just jump into that.
Oh,
You're saying that, go ahead.
I was saying that the part about when she says she doesn't like to get ordered around or nobody gets ordered around, I'm like, people get ordered around every day. You get ordered around from your job at work, whether it's order or tell, not too big of a difference, just depending on who the person is that's letting you know. You go to the doctor, or as somebody, I think they said in the chat room, is that the doctor suggests, but you've been to the doctor before when the doctor's like, here, you need to take this medicine. Or just even in general, you take orders from, okay, when you go to the grocery store, not the grocery store, but like you go to the movies or you go to a certain place and people say, hey, do this, do that in order to get in, you're taking an order. You might not look at it that way, but you're taking it.
Okay. China, what say you?
So I was actually late being added to that chat. So the first thing I did, I looked at synonyms, right? Because at first you would say no, Black women do not, forget the word authority. Let's throw some synonyms there, right? So just a few to name: influence, command, control, dominance. I don't know about Zuri, but I love me a man that can control the situation. I love a man that has a dominant presence about himself. I love a man who has control not only of his family, his spouse, his wife, his children. I love all of that. So if you look at the definition of it, you can break it down, right? So it says the power of the right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. In the Black household, I would say absolutely. I would definitely say that the Black women that I know personally do respect Black male authority.
All right, John, go ahead and chime in. China says that they deserve the right to respect Black male authority. What say you, John?
Sure. And I'm in total alignment with China. The reality is, and what I promote, that I do a lot of community work, community empowerment work, work with young African-American males in Atlanta. And what we teach is we follow the law of nature, the law of natural order. We're in a time where we're being inundated with philosophies, ideologies, and different types of schools of thought that are antagonistic to the law of nature. But the reality is there is headship. We do believe in headship. We believe that men by nature are designed to lead, provide, and protect. In a family unit, there's only one head, and that's the man. Men by nature are equipped with testosterone, more sperm cell, and more muscle mass because we are designed to lead, provide, and protect. Women who are antagonistic to this rhetoric are a byproduct of the type of environments we as Black men have created. So when men are not creating atmospheres or environments or communities where women feel protected, women will respond by, a lot of the feminist rhetoric and what have you. Rhetoric that I don't support, but I definitely understand that women by nature are responders.
So let me play devil's advocate, right? So the pushback to what, and it seems that we're in agreement here. The pushback would be, well, that dominance turns into violence. And when you want me to, your authority, you just want to be violent. You want me to submit to you so you can take advantage and be violent over me and be mentally controlling and mentally abusive and financially abusive. I'm not going to submit to that authority. That's the evil patriarchy. What are y'all thoughts?
Go ahead, John.
Can I please respond to that?
Go ahead.
Because those are some of the talking points that are that emanate from the feminist community and that mindset. The reality is there's a difference between a man and a boy, right? Now, men and boys are males, right? We're all of the male species, but the reality is we have two very different mindsets. Men by nature are, and like I said before, men are designed to lead, that's one, provide, and protect. That's the foundation of manhood. There's no such thing as a man operating in the fullness of his masculinity, but he isn't functioning as a protector. So if a guy, and here's the thing, I have sisters, I have a mother, I have grandmothers, I understand that 1 in 3 women are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and abuse. I'm very sensitive to that. And I also understand from a statistical standpoint what's going on in our community. So I understand where that mindset is coming from. Hence the reason why I say men are responsible for the environments we create. We can't call a woman beasts and hoes and expect for them to want to submit to us when we function in a masculinity that is contrary to what our divine nature is. But the point that I'm making is this: a man, if he's not protected, if a woman doesn't feel protected in a man's presence, he's not functioning in masculine energy. A man is a protector. I'm gonna give you one example, and I'm gonna shut off because I know I'm a little talkative, but I submit to God, right? I have to submit to a higher power. I have to pray every day. I have to meditate. I have to connect to my higher power. That is me submitting to God. Submission doesn't mean control and domination, although a man is, I do believe, just like I'm trying to say, a man should control the situation, but submission within proper context means you come under the protection of. So if a man is not protecting a woman, if he's abusing her, calling her out of her name, or not creating an environment where she can rest in her feminine energy, he's not a real man.
Okay, Zuri looks like she's busting at the seams to say something. Go ahead, Zuri.
No, I had a question, even like when he just said that if a man's not providing a woman to be soft enough in her feminine era, like I read, feminine just is. It does. A man doesn't make you feel more feminine, less feminine. Just like a woman shouldn't make you. A man is masculine. He's masculine. You guys don't hear, oh, a woman makes me feel more masculine, or this woman's gonna put me in my masculine era, or how females say, I just need a man to be put in my soft era. No, either you are or you aren't. And a lot of the times, those are situations that a woman create. I'm not saying that the woman putting all the blame on the woman, but it's like when you went along with the abuse and things like that. Sometimes, a lot of the times, those are situations that women created on their own, and they played a part in it as well. So I'm not just gonna. So
okay, Zuri.
That's kind of what I had to chime in about, because he was saying that about the women. Yeah, I think there's a small majority of us that respect the Black authority, but just by looking around and everything today, the answer is no, all the way around. Because even like what Penny was saying about the submission part, women expect to be acting wild out here, talking to men all kinds of ways, but they want protection. Where does that come into natural law at?
Okay, so Zuri says that you're either feminine or you're not, or you're either masculine or you're not. My masculinity does not make you feminine. Your femininity does not make you masculine. You are what you are. What are your thoughts on that?
It can, depending on who you are, being around certain people can bring certain things out of you. You know what I mean? If you are around a man who commands a certain presence about himself, who commands respect, it will tend to soften some people. I know at our grown age, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I would be a fool if I was the same person I was when I was 25, 30, hell, last year. You know what I mean? I used to, exactly. So, I mean, just because you're one way, that does not mean that you're not willing to change for the right person. I had to learn to be soft. I had to learn that when a man was in the room, why am I touching the door? Why am I grabbing a check? Just certain things, I had to learn to just sit and be in my feminine ways, because for a long time I was put in a position where I could not. So that's why I say you could be one way, but being around other people can bring out a different side.
But most women are born feminine already. But then we just take
Yes.
that out, and most of us want to chime in and be the masculine part instead of being feminine. So you can still, even no matter what kind of environment you're in, you as a woman choose whether you want to take on that role or not, right or wrong.
Well, okay. So when you say take on that role, certain things that we're taught, let's just say in the household. Of course, boys, girls, everybody should know how to cook. Everybody should know how to clean. Everybody should know how to keep house. But in the household, we're taught, boys, you're going to get outside. You're going to do yard work. Boys, you're going to take out the trash. Boys, you need to learn how to change a tire. But Kachana has to do all of these things by herself. So does that make me a less feminine woman because I have to perform certain things in the household, or
No, we're talking about more so of action, not performing certain jobs. Just because you're taking out the trash or doing that doesn't make you less feminine. I'm talking about like certain situations, like when you could say when a woman says that I'm the man and the woman, or just being masculine altogether, not just because you take out the trash and do certain things.
Right.
I do some of that stuff sometimes.
I mean, we all do. And so
that doesn't mean, like I say, feminine is just like it is, or you like either it's in you or it's not. Basically, because you can't be like, okay, this person's going to bring me the soft area, or when women say, until I meet the right man, do the right thing before you meet the right man so that right man can come along. Don't just wait. Just like women want men to pay all the bills, right? But you're not a wife yet. But I don't know if that scenario kind of adds up, if that makes sense. Because a lot of women always say, well, I'll do the right thing when the white man comes along. No, be who you need to be so that right man, so you can attract the right man and align yourself with that man instead of waiting for, oh, let me feel his energy. No, when you're already that person, they already know and they'll feel it and it's coming.
I like that you said that, Zuri, because people love to quote, even non-Christians love to quote the Christian scripture, man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. And I love that they always quote the KJV, even though they are quick to point out that King was pretty interesting character. But I digress from that point. But anyway, they love to quote the scripture that a man that finds a wife finds good things. Right? But to your point, and I agree, the preposition there is that you are a wife to begin with. I often use the example, somebody that finds somebody that buys a nice car, buys a nice thing, right? But it has to be a nice car to begin with, right? And so if you are presenting in a way that a wife presents, I've said this many times, you'll get wiped up. But to be clear, China, because I'm probably gonna catch a side eye when I say stuff like that. There are a lack of marriage-minded guys out here to number of women, and so it's easier.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you.
It's easier said than done. But I want to get back to this whole authority piece, right? Because and I wish that Laquita was here or Doc Locke was here. And I actually hope they show up because they akin it to domestic violence, and I hate that. So in our community, obviously there's a lack of male presence, right? John, I'm gonna start with you on this one. Do you think that male presence? Do you think that presence alone is necessary, or do you think that if there were enough black men present, we would command authority, or do you think that our presence we would have to demand it? Do you think we'd have to take it, or do you think we would just command it by our presence? What do you think, John?
So for me, women by nature are responders. Women by nature respond to the environments men create. So when a man functions in the fullness of his masculine energy, a woman will respond accordingly. And it's no different than human sexuality. A woman responds to the seat that the man supplies. So when men in our community functioned in their natural office, and that's as the leader, provider, protector, we build environments, institutions, and we create infrastructures, women are going to respond naturally. They respond by submitting to our lead. And again, submission is to come under the protection of, just to provide a context. But that's just what it is, you know, and it's not the male figure that's needed. It's the masculine energy that the male functions in that's needed. And there's a difference between the two, because there are a lot of black men that I see in our neighborhoods, but do they operate in their masculine office?
So when you say operate in their masculine office, give me an example of what you mean.
A man who's a man, you know, a man who leads his family. He leads by example. It's pretty much the opposite of what we see circulating in mainstream media. You know, a man who has a vision. He has a strong family, even if he isn't married, but just a man who operates and he has the energy of a protector. You know, if men were protectors in our community, do you think that Pookie and Ray Ray will feel comfortable to be shooting up the liquor store and robbing and killing and stealing? Absolutely not. You know, if we had neighborhoods that were dominated by men who are like my uncles or maybe our grandfathers, men who understood what real manhood was, we wouldn't have crime in the black neighborhood. We didn't have crime in the black neighborhood before integration policy was passed in the 1960s. You know, we had men who were real men, right? They weren't sagging their pants and trying to be yo boys. These were men who got out. You know, they chopped wood. They worked hard. They had a strong work ethic. They didn't have this victimhood mentality. You know, oh, the white man's trying to hold me back. That type of mentality. They didn't have that. They were creators, right? These were men who were builders. These were men who were leaders, and they created environments. So as a young boy, if I were a young boy in the neighborhood and I saw black men like this functioning in the office in abundance, I would be socialized. You know, that would impact my socialization.
So John says that a manly man, you know, one that essentially sets the tone, sets that masculine tone, is necessary, and not just the presence, right? Not just the presence. Do you agree with that? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. You know, when a woman is aggressive, when, you know, can't say anything to a woman, a lot of times she didn't have a father around, so she may not have seen it. And so when you've never seen anything, how can you relate? But for myself, even though I did not have my father around, I had other male figures in my life. And, you know, we take certain words and they have a negative connotation to them. You know, when you think of the word authority, you think of someone just, you know, someone's over you, someone's bossing you around, someone's giving you an order. But I want a man that will command his respect. Oh hell, it's attractive. You know what I mean? Strong, manly man, a stand-up kind of guy. That's attractive. I mean, we even had a show once about alphas and beta males. Remember back then?
That was a good show.
Yeah, it was. And don't get me wrong. You know, when it comes to the alpha and beta, hey, I tell people all the time, I am the same person regardless of whoever I'm around, right? But I can bring out a little alpha and a beta. I'm just saying I can. But it's something attractive about a strong man, that a man that can make good decisions. You know, sometimes in the workplace, you know, we have so much on our shoulders. When I come home, I want to be soft. I don't want to have to do everything. And so when I think of, you know, the word, I don't just think of it in its entirety. I look at it piece by piece. It also said make good decisions and command obedience. You do need that for your children, right? Your children need that. So I don't just look at it as one word. I'm looking at the whole entire definition of it. So that's just my opinion about that.
All right, Zuri.
I agree with John that if there was more of male presence, but I'm just gonna be straightforward in my thoughts. I don't feel like every man can do it. It's just something about that energy, because sometimes when you have that energy, you don't even have to command it. People know when you step in the room. And I would say, as women, and even other men, sometimes people know who to play with and who doesn't. You know who carries that energy and who's going to get the job done and who's just talking and who's not.
So I was having a conversation. I spent a lot of time, probably too much time on Clubhouse. Great conversation on there, but I think I spent a little bit too much time. If you're all familiar with that platform, the Clubhouse
But can I
platform?
chime in real quick?
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to touch on Zuri's point, because she said not all men have it, and I want to challenge that. The reality is, every male has it when he learns how to tap into that power, because all men are equipped with sperm cell, and there's a reason for that. Like, there's a reason why God gave the sperm to the man, not the woman.
Yeah.
Right. All men are equipped with testosterone. There's a reason why men have more testosterone than women, and we also can produce more muscle mass than a woman. So every man has that inner power. The problem that we have is in our mainstream backwards toxic society, especially our mainstream culture, there's a challenge. They challenge organic gender roles and gender identity. When I use the term gender roles, people start to freeze up and tense up. But the reality is we all have roles and we all have very distinct identities. So I just want to challenge that notion. Every single man has it when he's taught how to tap into it.
I understand that they have it, but I'm not going to say I've been around, like, trying to say all men since a child, my father, uncles, friends. And when I say that energy, some men either as you say, they haven't tapped into it, but some men bring more power than others. It's just how it is, how you were born. It's in the DNA. Some people are just more powerful than others and can bring that, regardless. If just like with women, some women are more powerful than other women, and some women bring that energy regardless. They're born with it, whether they've tapped into it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys got me thinking of another question. Actually, I'm gonna put a pin in what I was just gonna say. I want to ask this question. So we're talking about gender roles, right? And I'm gonna play devil's advocate, because listen to the show, y'all know how I feel about these. Y'all pretty much know what side I am on this particular conversation. And I think that with respect to the title, it is literally one of the biggest, if not the biggest, problem in our community with respect to safety. But so devil's advocate, right? So modern women will say, to hell with your testosterone. I don't need your testosterone. I don't need your muscle mass. I got two people that live with me that provide me all the security and safety that I need. They are Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson. What do y'all say about women that take that stance? I got a gun, so therefore I don't need your protection. Or
they still can't be protected.
Hold on. What'd you say, Zuri?
I said, to me, women that think like that are delusional, because men can overpower you regardless if you have a gun or not. You can have a Smith & Wesson. 5 men break in your house. What you gonna do?
Okay, but the other point I'm going to add to that, and then we'll dialogue, is that they're saying, well, how often does that happen? How often does that happen? That doesn't happen that often. I've been living in my house for 17 months, and ain't nobody ever kicked in my door. So y'all just making up this stuff that we used to have to worry about in the 1873s. What say y'all about that? Anybody can chime in.
So this is my perspective on it. When a man functioning as a protector is, there are many different facets to it, right? We're not just physical protectors. Men are responsible for the protection of the African tribe, right? We're responsible for the protection of our culture. We're responsible for the protection of our community, the environments that we live in. So it's more than just her having a gun. And also, here's the thing, women need emotional protection. We have different emotional profiles. Women are emotional, and men are emotional too, but we express our emotions in different ways, which is a completely different conversation, but we have different emotional profiles. So it's when we talk about protection, it's so much more significant than just protecting a woman from a thief who breaks into the house. There's so many different facets to it. spiritual protection. You know, if a man is the priest of his home, he needs to have a spiritual connection to God or his higher power and provide the security. Women by nature thrive when they feel secure. I've never met a woman ever. Maybe you have, but I've never met a woman in my time that didn't provide more of a light when she felt secure. When a woman feels secure, she can just operate in the fullness of her femininity the way she was designed to. I believe that when a woman responds with, "Oh, I don't need no man because I got my own gun," yada, 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 she's responding out of hurt and pain because, and more than likely, she was probably a victim of trauma and abuse.
That's what I was going to say, trauma.
Mm-hmm.
China, thoughts?
I laugh because my gun is sitting right there, literally.
And it's sad that she even needs it. Yeah, but it's sad. But Penny, here's the thing: isn't it sad that she needs a gun? Like the fact that she actually needs a gun in our house is an indication that we collectively, not you as an individual, but we collectively haven't provide security in our community. That's a classic example.
So I was having a conversation with some women, a while back, and they were pushing back. And John, you raised a great point about more than just physical, physical security and physical safety. I was having this conversation, and we were talking about, and this is the same conversation on Clubhouse, in which the woman pushed it back. First of all, one woman said, actually, it was the same woman who was married, by the way, happily married, by the way, which is. Her stance on a lot of things were incongruent with her relationship status, unless, I don't know, I just got, how you judge people in your head and kind of get these idea of what her husband is. And I just pictured this Rick Moranis type character. I don't know if you guys even know who that is, the guy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I pictured that being her husband and him just being extraordinarily docile, and she protects him. But that's me judging. So, shout out to the young lady if she's watching this conversation. I'm just telling you my mental thoughts. Don't take any offense. We all have our thoughts. But anyway, we were having this conversation about this physical protection, right? And she made a demand. She said, "Well, I don't need a man to physically protect me. I don't need that because I got my gun, and how often I've been in my." She's the one that made the same comment. I've been in my house for 17 months and ain't nobody ever kicked in the door, so that rarely happens. But she made this ask. She said, "What men can do if men want to provide." Well, no, this is what she said. She didn't say if men want to provide. She said men need to check the men doing things such as, checking other men when they catcalling women in public. And she said that she said that she had an incident in which these women were being catcalled, and she picked up a rock and she threw it at the guy's car. And of course, the woman said it's okay, and the guy drove off. But we talk about physical protection outside of, or we talk about protection outside of physical. These are the type of things that we're talking about. So she was, lambasted by a lot of the guys on the stage. But before I even tell you what the guy said, I want to, John, what the ladies responded. What would your reaction be, or what would your advice be to that woman in that situation? There's a man in a car cat calling another woman. How would you respond to that, China? What would you do, China?
I would have kept walking, because let me tell you something. I would never put myself and no one else that I care about in any type of harm or danger. Men love their dogs, men love money, and men love their cars. And I'm not about to mess with any one of them, right? So she put herself in a situation that she didn't have to be in. That also goes back to the case of, okay, and now if a black man was to have come and protected her and that man retaliated, then you put another black man in danger. You want to be out here acting foolish. Absolutely not. That's not how I would have responded. I'm going to respond by being cute, keeping it cute, and going on about my business. Mm-hmm. That's just me.
Zero, you concur?
Yes, Yes, I do.
John, I'm pretty sure you can respond as to how the guys responded to this woman. But China, you must have been in that Facebook or in that Clubhouse conversation, because that's exactly what the guys were saying.
Okay, I was not.
One guy literally said, first of all, you throwing a rock in a man, a man's car is like you said, that's their baby. He would have probably responded. Another guy said the same thing. Why would you put yourself? What if that guy would have, because she was throwing, what that guy would have got out and shot at him?
That's what I was going to say.
You see what I'm saying? So you're putting yourself in that situation. So another guy said you should have just walked away. It's not that serious.
It's not.
And then somebody made the joke, it's not 13 BC. Why are you throwing rocks? But these are these to listen audience, these are the things that these are the structures or the boundaries that men create that are for your safety. They are not so that we can dominate or overpower. It's for your safety. There's a psychologists and sociologists say that when young boys are wrestling and fighting, that's how they learn boundaries. That whole act of just simply roughhousing with a boy teaches him boundaries. It teaches him boundaries early. And so that, and me and John understand this. And me and John are on the street and we having a conversation about, who's the Kobe LeBron debate, right? And I say, John, you stupid. I know that I got to watch my mouth because there's always this low level threat of violence and men cross that line.
Yeah.
We in turn teach that to our kids, our loved ones, to kind of keep them safe and understand, you can, because a lot of feminists, a lot of women have this idea that we have to soften the world, and men understand that differently. The world is not soft, it's a tough place, and you have to learn how to navigate this tough world. John, am I saying anything incorrect? You want to add anything to that?
You're on point. It's a very, very tough world, very hostile world. And there's a reason why masculine and feminine energies are needed. When a woman, especially this younger generation, women who claim that they don't need men, I'm an independent boss chick, I can do for my own, I can do for myself. Women are not equipped to function in the world the way we are designed to function in this world. And I'm not taking away from a woman's right to work or what have you, but there's certain things that we just do naturally. Like there's certain, and it goes back to biology. There's a reason why we're equipped with certain tools. And there's also a reason why women are equipped with more estrogen and the ability to procreate. And there's a reason why women have a different emotional profile. Women are nurturers by nature. They're not designed to be on the front line fighting. Even with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, you had all these Black women on the front line. And I thought it was such an embarrassment to our community because we're pretty much showing the world that it's the Black woman who's on the front line fighting when it's really the Black male's responsibility to stand in front. And the woman stands behind the man and she's guarding the children. That's how every nation functions. You know what I mean? And I think that these are powerful conversations because we're challenging the mainstream. We're challenging left-wing rhetoric, and the type of philosophies that are antagonistic against the law of nature.
So I want to switch the conversation up a little bit. So we've talked about, do they respect, women's respect Black male authority? And I think in most instances we would agree that no. Obviously, there's instances in which they do, in which that's when you have quote unquote, masculine, Black men that are leading accordingly and they fall in line. But I want to talk about why. Why is it that there is this lack of respect for our authority, even in instances? So another conversation, and again, these Clubhouse conversations, good, John. I'm telling you, they're great conversations. They lead to a lot of these titles, by the way. But another conversation that happened was this idea of men outside. So, for example, that same example that we were having a conversation about, other men said, you know what? This is another problem that we have. It's not just y'all don't want to listen to men. Y'all don't listen to anybody, right? So if I were because a lot of women are saying, well, I'll listen to them if it was my husband or my brother, or my loved one. Is it that random men can't give you that same, for your safety? Because I'll give you an example, and John, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say John is, well, let's use the United States for example. Let's say John is here in the States, right? I'm in John's neighborhood in New York. I'm on his side of town, and John sees me walking with the chains out and the Hublot watch on, and John comes up to me and he says, hey, Penny, look, I don't know if you want to go down this block like that. I think you should tuck that in. And I would respect that from John. And John, would you agree vice versa?
Mm-hmm.
You agree that men universally respect each other's advice with respect to protection. Why is it? What is it about, women? China, I'm a jury. I'm going to aim to say, y'all, why is it that this whole idea of you don't know me, you can't tell me what to do, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. Where does that stem from? Ladies, this question for y'all.
Me personally, I think it stems from, like what everybody said, trauma, not being raised with a father, not having authority, or men in general telling you how to, just giving you advice from a young age, and they feel like they don't have to do anything. And a lot of it stems from not even the father. They listen to their grandmas, their aunties, their single friends. This isn't something that just started. The cycle's been going. It just needs to be broken. So a lot of women feel like that's, if a man's telling them what to do, it's taking my power away. Or my favorite line, if you're on the internet all the time, when a man is trying to not even correct a woman, just give simple ideas like, hey, they shouldn't be doing this, even with the Kiki Palmer, all this other stuff. Ugh. All I hear women make comments is, who hurt you? And I'm like, why is that always the first comment when a man's trying to correct or give you guys good advice? A woman always just wants to say, who hurt you? You need to go heal. Like, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. The men are really trying to help you guys out from a non-sexual perspective, like you say, protection. And sometimes men see things that we don't see.
Shame, insults, guilt, that need to be right. Kevin Samuels made those words very prominent. But there was actually someone before him that said that. I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but there's somebody else. A lot of things that Kevin said wasn't Kevin's, but he was more articulate with it, and he had more style and pizzazz with it. And so we kind of ascribe it to him. But China, what are your thoughts? Why is it that you can't tell me what to do? Why is that?
Okay, so y'all know I'm from Mississippi. So I got to take you back to my roots. Have y'all ever heard of the saying, all you do is raise and keep up hell, right? When you are raised and brought up in a household, in a community, with nothing but hell raising, that's all you know. That's what's ingrained in you. And so a lot of women were raised by hellish women, but they were angry because they had to step up and do everything by themselves. So they were put in certain positions where they felt like, you know what, if I got to do A, B, and C, then you can't tell me nothing, right? So when you take a young, impressionable girl who was raised up into that household, who has no idea what the rest of us same people are doing, she's going to maintain that. She's going to keep that same energy. But at the same time, I'm really big on this. I'm really, really big on this. Even though, a lot of times that's the reason, we still got to get off that crutch.
That's what I was going to say. We know it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it right. I have family members who didn't do anything but keep up hell, but their children are doing well. Their girls are soft, feminine women. So some of us will learn from our, not necessarily mistakes, because you can't help the household or the community you come from, but you can do something about it if you want to do something about it. But to answer the question, why some women you can't tell them anything? Because they was raised in a bunch of hell. Just a house full of just raising damn hell. That's why, honestly.
What are your thoughts on that, John?
A company is a reflection of its leadership. So if I work for a company, there was a company I worked for, and it was a complete disaster, and no one respected the authority, and it was because of the leadership. It was bad leadership, and I think it was a conversation people weren't comfortable having. Do you blame the employees? Do you blame the the staff, or do you look at the type of leadership that's in place and the infrastructures that they put in place? Why aren't people of the Jewish community having this conversation? Do Jewish women, now I'm speaking collectively, of course there are anomalies, but do Jewish women collectively disrespect their men? Do you see in maybe the Latin American community, are there women disrespecting their men? The reality is, when a man has built institutions and structures, he's created a foundation, women by nature will respond. And a man is responsible for the woman he selects. If a man goes into a relationship, for example, there's a guy that I know, right? Not a friend, but he's an associate. He's someone that I know, has no money, has no job, in a relationship with a woman, lives under her roof, right? He's a typical beta male, right? Although he believes he exudes masculine energy because he's a rapper, he functions in a feminine energy.
Wait, you say he a rapper?
Say again?
You say he a rapper?
He's in Atlanta. Atlanta is home of all of the new rappers or what have you, right?
Gotcha. Go ahead.
And I had a conversation with him, and I said, you can't expect your woman to respect you if you have not entered the relationship with an infrastructure. If you're living under a woman's roof, and here's another thing. When women make more money than women, when women earn more money than men, it's also difficult for women to fully respect them as the alpha in that relationship. It's the truth. Because at the end of the day, money is a symbol of power. So when a black man, and because we're talking about the African community, the black world, when men are not creating those environments, women are not going to respond with respect. I mean, it's impossible.
Can I ask you this? Well, they said that when men make more money, they try to expand and make their family better. Like say they get a raise or whatever. When women make money, they end up divorcing their husband and just leave the family behind. Why is that?
So, okay, I want to make sure I'm on the same page. So you said, so when men earn more money, we make the family better, which is true because we're designed
to make earn more money, like you just said, they don't respect the man, but men
they don't.
They try to
see. This is the reason why I teach men all the time: stop falling for this foolishness. Men need to focus on getting their money right.
Yeah,
the only thing they need to be focused on is getting a bag, making money. And here's the thing: making more money than a woman. Once black women start earning more money than us, it's over. It is, bro, Penny. It is over for us. It is over. And Beyonce is promoting this.
For modern women, I feel like it's over. But for those of us that know and still, like you say, honor the protection and the male's role and what you're supposed to do in our lives.
But men by nature are competitive.
And like, with everything that's going on, a lot of women's jobs aren't even going to hold. So that's why I'm saying with everything going on, it's not going to be over. Because a lot of, like you say, women and men can't do the same things. You guys can, the longevity in you guys is longer than a woman. It can.
But the reality is this. Here's the issue, because that sounds politically correct. But if a man enters a relationship, like remember that situation where, what's the sister's name again? She went viral because she said, I think Iyanla asked her, would she ever date a bus driver? And she's, now listen to this.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
what's her name? Angela, what's her name?
No, Williams. I can't think of her first name.
Yeah, I forgot the sister's name. Beautiful woman, right?
I'll find it.
Yeah, and I have my critiques with her. However, here's the thing. She's a multi-millionaire, right? She's influential. She's a businesswoman. She's a go-getter.
Ebony K. Williams.
Ebony K. Williams. Now, that particular statement, I was Team Ebony. How can a man, a real man, establish his masculine presence in a relationship as a bus driver when he's only earning $30,000-$40,000 a year, which is not a problem. A man who's a bus driver needs to maybe talk to the lunch lady, or maybe talk to the the secretary, or someone who's on his level or economically maybe a little lower. Because once a man enters a relationship with a woman who's she's all the way here, she's a multi-millionaire, and he only makes a fraction of what she makes. The house is in her name, the car is in her name. When they go out to dinner, she's paying for the date, the vacation's in her name, the credit cards are in her name. How can he establish his masculine presence?
He has it from the jump.
See, with that situation, to me, well, you're going from one extreme to the next, right? And the reason why I said it is because I thought that was just a horrible question to ask her, right? It'd be a different question to someone else who make the 80 to 100,000, but it was an unrealistic question to me to ask her, because when is she going to be around that that bus driver, right? I mean, just honestly speaking, that bus driver is probably not going to shop at Whole Foods, right? She's probably not doing her own shop. Like, when will she actually be around a man of his caliber, right?
Well, to be fair, go ahead, finish your point.
No, go ahead. Because you'll forget. Go ahead.
To be fair, Ayanna was making the point about character, and she was saying that one of the reasons that a lot of women are single is because they're looking for things that have nothing to do with character. And men, you date a man that is a man of character. That's why she has the bus driver character question. I agree. I didn't like the Ebony K did boo-booed on bus drivers and blue collar men, and then double down. I didn't like that, calling them mediocre. I didn't like that, but other than that, I agree. A woman in her income bracket is not going to date a guy that's of that significant income or lower than that. But I wanted to ask you ladies this question, but China, I'll remember the question. Finish your thought.
And I was actually going to get to that. Because Black women are making money, right? Let's just say it. Women across the board are making money. Black women, we're making money.
Statistically,
there will be men who know who you are, what type of woman you are, and they won't approach, right? We'll just start there. They won't approach. I'm not the type of woman who's going to sit down and go through the 9th degree about what's in your bank account. I'm just not going to do it. However, I do need my man to be comfortable. That's what I was getting to. I need you, whatever you have, whatever you're bringing to our table, our union, I need you to be comfortable in that. Okay. So even if I do out earn you, we're fine. That still doesn't mean that you're not deserving of being my man, right? Now I get it. Of course, the ideal situation is the man will make more money, but I mean, how many guys out there are going to actually bring in that type of bank? Just be honest with you. Now they can. I'm not saying it's impossible, but statistically, we are making the dollars. So I can handle being with a man who doesn't make more than me. I can't.
Yeah. So
wait. You said you can't be with a man that makes more than you?
I can handle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah. So, and you brought up some very significant points, China. This is my position. If a man is not in a position to function as a provider, and a woman function, now I believe a woman's a helpmate, right? So, I mean, obviously, we can't do every single thing in the world. That's the reason why God created the woman as the helpmate. But if a man is not equipped to function as a provider, if he doesn't have like financial stability, financial security, it's going to be very, very difficult for a woman to submit to a man. I mean, I've seen this over and over and over. I mean, I hear women say the same things, but once they enter into a relationship with a man, and the house is in her name, the bills are in her name, the car is in her name, right? Where is the masculine presence in that? If a bus driver is marrying a multimillionaire or a woman who's making 3, 4, 5 times the amount of she's bringing in 4 or 5 times the amount of income he's bringing in, like, how is he going to position himself? He's going to position himself either as the equal, or he's going to position himself as beneath the woman, because the reality is money is power. Women respect men who have an infrastructure. Women respect men who have the ability to function as a competitor, or a man who's competitive, economically competitive. This is the reason why I teach young men, because we don't want Black men to get complacent. There are too many Black men in our community who are complacent. They believe women should accept us before we place an emphasis on building our own economic empire, right? I teach young men this: if you don't have a job, if you don't have like a stable income, if you don't have just like your basic necessities covered, you shouldn't pursue a relationship. Wait until you have your financials in order first before pursuing a relationship. Who's going to pay for the date? Women don't respect men that don't pay for dates. Women don't respect men that go 50-50 on dates. But these are the same women who will say, oh, it doesn't matter if he makes, a fraction of what I make. No, I teach young men money's everything. Forget what they're saying. Money is the foundation of manhood, because the reality is we live in a capitalist society. Money determines the type of neighborhood you live in. It determines the type of a school district you send your kids to. Money is everything. And if men are like, we have a competitive spirit, God put that in us, we should operate in the fullness of that.
So I agree with that to a point. And there's and my reasons are deep to why I agree with that to a point. One, yes, women are beginning to outpace men. They haven't outpaced us economically because two reasons that are holding women back. Not the pay gap. The pay gap, it's a myth.
It's the
industry.
Two reasons.
Yeah.
Industry.
One is it's the industries that women go into, number one. Number two, childbirth. Women tend to leave the workforce to take care of children. That's just a fact. Women that delay childbirth tend to make more because they just don't leave the workforce. So childbirth is another one. And the other one is just men will just flat out work. If you look at a lot of cities publish these lists about the highest earners, like police or firefighters or bus drivers, garbage men, that these wage workers that earn $150, some cities $200,000 a year on jobs that, at the base rate, you take the, top hourly rate in that union times 2080, it's, 50, 60, 70 grand. These guys will push it because they'll just work 15-hour days, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Women are never on those lists. Women just don't get out there and work those hours. And so men will do that. But my challenge is this: women will outpace men because of the workforce has changed, right? The way we educate kids certainly is different. There's the vocational training in school that benefits young men is gone. The technical training that benefits young men is gone. The skills that women excel at that men don't, or boys don't, the soft skills, the sit at your time, those things women excel at. And so women are excelling because the way the schools are designed, we're learning, are more designed toward women. I mean, for every 100 degrees, bachelor's degrees that women get, men are getting like 73. So we're being outpaced. And so with that, as the world goes, less and less labor intensive, women will get an advantage. And so I think that at some point there will be an imbalance in incomes. And so the fact that, and I make this plea all the time, you've heard me say anything about young men, I'm very, very defensive of them because I believe we're not preparing them. And so, John, how do you prepare young men in a system where the schools aren't preparing, especially black men?
Stop being a victim.
Well, let me finish the point. Our schools, it's not just victims, because we're talking about kids. We're talking about black boys. Our schools aren't preparing them, right? The school to prison pipeline is a thing, and so when we throw a lot of responsibility away in the way of young men that were never prepared. How does he wake up one day and then boom, that light bulb kicks on when he was never prepared?
So like when I talk about victimhood mentality, and I'm not blaming the children, I understand children are a reflection of their parents. Mm-hmm. This really goes back to what I was describing before, right? Women are responding to the environments men have not built, right? Why are we, and this, like these conversations really just, because we talk about this because, I'm in Ghana, and you know how it is in Africa, beautiful continent, a continent full of natural resources, but we still blame the white man.
Very patriarchal though.
Say again?
Very patriarchal though. I love it.
Which is a good thing. I'm full support of patriarchy. I got you, brother. I got you, brother. Yeah, I'm in full support of it. Here's the thing: the more we complain about the school to prison pipeline or the failing school district, see what you and I are doing to China and Zuri, we're telling them that we're beta males. Because see, and I'm saying collectively, not you specifically, we as black men have not come together to create our own school district. When I lived in DC, there were African-centered schools where black people came together They created their own curriculum. They had their own institution. They created their own microeconomies and produced a generation of Black youth who are far more superior than your white counterparts. They took the spirit of victimhood out of the equation and they produced, and I'm not justifying or I'm not trivializing the system of white supremacy, because I totally understand our history. I understand, the history of colonialism, neocolonialism, the transatlantic slave trade, the whole 9 yards. But the reality is this: the Black community was far more competitive before integration policy was passed. It was before people like Martin Luther King. I know you all love MLK, but I think he should also be open to some critique. It was the Martin Luther Kings and the Rosa Parks who promoted this integration narrative. We need to integrate into their schools. Let's shut down the Black schools, even though Black schools were far more competitive than the mainstream white institutions. We sent our Black students into the white power structure. We watched our entire community implode and just completely vanish. And now we complain about the conditions that we're in. I believe that we as Black men, if we want Black women to respect us, we have to build our own institutions, our own communities, our own microeconomies. That's how we can. It's not complaining about the school to prison pipeline. A lot of our people making bad decisions. I live in Atlanta. Many of our young people who have so much potential are products of very backwards, toxic households. They're products of single mothers who procreated with Pookie and Ray Rays, and because of bad behaviors and bad decisions that we decided to make. Right? No one put a gun to our head to force us to have these families. Right? The decisions that we make create the outcome that we see, and that's my perspective on it.
So, and to be fair, and I'm a Dr. King apologist. I'm just to be honest. To be fair, I think that King had the right. I think he had the right direction. He had some terrible advisors. Baynard Ruskin.
I think he took our community the wrong direction.
Well, I think Baynard Rustin. If you guys Google him, I think and I think when King began to wake up to the realities and of this bad advice, because his message certainly changed toward the end of his life. I think that he just had bad handlers around him, and I think that once he began to realize that, I think they decided that that was enough, and they killed him. That's what I believe. But yeah, start Googling some of his advisors, because some of those guys were just trash people.
Absolutely.
I think at his core, King had the right idea. So I respect that, John, but I want to push back. And then, ladies, you ladies are free to chime in. Yeah. My pushback is this because I hear that argument a lot, right? That excuses. And again, I always go back to our boys, right? Because there's this argument out there that us as Black men should, take our communities back. And so my question is always, well, how do we do that? We don't have the economic power. That doesn't exist.
Sure, we do.
It's we don't have the economic power. We don't because have that our women. Well, I don't know if it's because of our decisions. Because again, if you can't, young men that are ill prepared can't wake up tomorrow. I can wake up tomorrow and say, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z because I was given the tools.
Yeah, but that's a product.
But you can't. If I was never given those, but I'm saying, but if I wasn't given the tools, I can't wake up one day and just magically know what to do. Right. And so let me lay it out. So we don't have the economic power as Black men. We just don't. We don't have the political power that belongs to our women. They have the one party that actually listens to us. Not that I'm endorsing either party, because I think they're both garbage. The one party that actually listens to us, or pretends to listen to us, the Dems, and the Black women have them in the palm of their hands. And we don't have the cooperation, of our women. And so, and there is white supremacy. Every attempt that we've made to take a step forward. I mean, look at all the Black leaders. You want to just go look at all the real Black leaders, because there aren't any real ones today that have amassed the masses or garnered the attention of the masses, like a Dr. King or a Malcolm X, or a Fred Hampton. All these men were killed, right? time after time after time, we've seen them killed, right? And then men like like Louis Farrakhan, who I'm not a Muslim, but that man's message resonates with me with respect to our community. He's spot on, but they've labeled him as a terrorist and they try to silence him. And so my question is, given the fact that we half of our community, to the title, doesn't respect our authority and leadership, we don't have the economics, we don't have the political, power, and we want to downplay it, but white supremacy is a thing. How do we counteract that?
Well, so you brought up, and I'm not negating anything that you mentioned, because I understand that there are systematic and structural issues and historic issues. But here's the thing: Black people, Black men in particular, Black men were able to, all of our Black business districts before the integration policy was passed in the 1960s. When you look at Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that was only one of nearly 100 Black business districts. These were all built by Black men in a time when racism, and understand we deal with racism hasn't, racism is still an issue today. I totally get it, but I still think it's irrelevant because our people were able to build infrastructures in light of the circumstances. They were able to rise above. They were able to build institutions in a time when they had a fraction of the resources that we have now. I'm not ignoring the circumstances. The challenge that I have with us and I'm talking to you specifically, Penny, us as Black men, the problem that I have is we expect for the women and children to respect us and to submit to us, but we operate in a beta male energy. We're complaining.
Well, let me pause you there, though. I want to pause you right there, though.
Go for it.
I get that. I don't disagree with that. But here's the difference between then and now. Then we were married at the highest rate in the nation, and we had help. We had help. Now we're not, right? I make the argument that our women are lured, and again, I blame it on the external forces, right?
Yeah,
it's feminism, it's white supremacy. They're being lured with this carrot that we're not worthy, right? We're not worthy because the reality is right now, today in 2023, we still out on our women, right? So if it's finances as a barrier to marriage, that isn't a barrier because we still out earn them. You know what I'm saying? And I want to pause
make sure we keep it
that
way.
Yep, I want to pause. Let the lady jump in. Any thoughts on this conversation, ladies?
No, I'm just listening. It's very interesting.
China.
But I agree with both you guys, and I agree with what you're saying, Penny, as well.
Yep, I just want to make sure I give you guys a chance to chime in because I know as men when we do our man thing, we tend to dominate the mics. I want to make sure
you're respecting y'all authority.
I like that, and actually, John, this may be a great conversation. Oh my gosh, I'm going to see if I can lure her back on here because this is the I call the cat, the dog chasing his tail, because I agree with you. I agree that as men we need to step up, take the lead, and take our communities back. Right, men like me, fight this fight on a daily basis, but I feel I don't say I'm feeling. I'm fighting. Not only am I fighting, Chad and them, right? But I'm fighting, our women all the time,
fighting Chad and Keisha.
Right. I'm fighting Chad. I'm fighting Keisha. I'm trying to get Pookie in line, and I'm trying to corral our boys. That's a Herculean task that is asked of nobody. Nobody on the planet is asked of that. Every other community, everyone falls in line. The Latin community, they make their median income is less than ours, but they have more wealth than we have because marriage. They're married more, and they amass more wealth.
Which goes back to the collective decisions that they're making. And I totally understand. I understand that we have a different set of circumstances because we are African people who descended from the slave trade. So I understand we have a different psychological situation in our community. Other groups coming to this country, through the immigration process. So I understand. So I want to make sure I don't trivialize our social issues. For me, it's embarrassing especially in Africa. Like I've never heard so many pathetic arguments. You have Black people Black men in particular on the continent. The continent is the wealthiest piece of real estate in the entire world, but you're complaining about the white man dominating the your economics when you have the power. You have the power. We have the power to create the type of reality we want to see. But we've been conditioned to function as the victim. Like we've been conditioned to function as this what do you call it, damsel in distress, or like we always want to garner this pity, right? We want people to have this pity party, and I'm not ignoring our plight, but the reality is if we want to be respected as men of power, we have to function in that. Why do we blame things like the welfare? Because I hear a lot of arguments about welfare destroyed, the black family, and feminism destroyed the black family. Well, if men were functioning as the providers, why would women need welfare in the first place, right? I think you also stated that we're fighting our women because they don't respect our leadership, but men are also responsible for choosing the right woman who will also function in that natural order. So why would me, why would I, a man who honors the law of natural order, why am I going to date and procreate with an independent boss chick? Why am I even going to approach a woman like that? So what we do as black men is we have these one night stands, right? We're not taking responsibility for having unprotected sex. And my parents had me as teenagers. My mom was 15, my father was 16, and they took responsibility for their bad behavior and bad decisions. And they told me to also take responsibility for my bad behavior and bad decisions, right? If we don't take accountability for our decisions, I don't think we'll ever have a future. That's the point that I'm making.
Go ahead, Zuri. You wanted to chime in?
I was going to say, I think if either party, man or woman, doesn't take accountability, there's no future. But even when you're saying that they should take responsibility, and yes, men choose who they sleep with or, who they want to procreate. But women also know, hey, like they say, women are the gatekeepers. If you don't open your legs to that man, that child will never come. Those red flags, and those 90, I'm not going to say 90%, but majority of black women are sleeping with the same percentage of men. So
that's another great point.
So you can't totally blame the man. I understand. I think both parties everybody needs to take accountability in the situation that they create, especially when it's dealing with children.
Absolutely.
That's the main thing that's not happening. The female's not taking accountability and the man's not taking accountability. The man knew that he didn't have intentions on taking care of the child, and the woman already knew he wasn't going to be a fit father, trying to change him or like him for what he does instead of, like Penny said, instead of choosing men by character and the things that they do, we're choosing them by that, oh, this woman wants him, or I could change him and do this and that, when we're all wrong and the whole level all together. Like, until we all take accountability for the part that we play in it consciously and subconsciously, then when that happens, then we'll get somewhere.
I totally agree.
We can definitely, and I actually do want to, I'm going to see if I can get her back on here. I got to, because she takes your stance, John, that, black men need to step up and take their rightful role and take their community back. And I often push back against that. And I often say, because I'm very practical, very practical. And, I was a lobbyist for many years. Policy is what I did. I studied this stuff. I mentored, I've written checks. I sit in the board for a program now for a child advocate group called Our Children Have Rights. And so this is something that I've wrestled with. I've taken the role of coupling up and taking that leadership role and doing the right thing and doing what you're supposed to do to help build my community. And so this is a great conversation. So I want to have a part 2 to this conversation, and the question is going to be, how do black men regain their authority? And I'm going to invite Tachi, because she takes your stance, John. This would be a great topic for debate. For debate. Hopefully I can get her back on stage with you. I'm going to send her this show so she can see that she has an ally, and we can continue further the discussion. But it's kind of that part of the show because we got to talk about solutions, right? Mm-hmm. And so, in closing, what do y'all think? How do just solutions, just some positive takeaways as we begin to close out the show. I'm going to go one by one. to give some positive takeaways, to the topic and moving forward, or advice that you have for the listening audience. And I'm gonna start with you, Zuri.
I think part of the solution that we should start off is like when boys need to be raised by men. Boys need to be around boys. Boys need to be around men so they know. Even if you are a single mother, find those men that can help you out, because boys need to be raised by men. A boy cannot become a man. He can only be shown how to become a man by another man, not a woman. To me, that's a major part of the solution is men raising our boys.
I agree.
China.
George once said that once Black men are better, our communities will be better. And I couldn't agree with that more. We have to understand that we need to make better decisions. I know we're wrapping up, but we need to make better decisions. You need to be careful on who you bring another life into this world with, right? We need to make better decisions on, men need to make better decisions. Men need to make better decisions. All together, we need more fathers in the household. Their presence is very much so needed. Very much so needed.
John.
Okay. My solution is for men, real men, right, to teach our boys that they need to prioritize making money the number one priority, and having an infrastructure in place before pursuing relationships. So before you pursue a relationship, before you pursue marriage and children, make sure you have your finances in order, and make sure that you have an infrastructure, and lastly, want to ensure that you have a vision. Once you have yourself together, now you're equipped to create a Black family. And the Black family is the foundation of the Black society. It's not policy, it's not the white man holding us back. It's the strong Black family structure that is the force to be reckoned with.
So I want to end with this. I want to just a message to our ladies, to our women. Stop looking at men. First of all, move in good faith with respect to men. Black men are not authoritative to the point that they want to subdue you or rule over you. It is for your safety. There's a story that happened here in Florida by a ex-NFL wide receiver by the name of Travis Rudolph. He was talking to a woman who was married. This married woman got upset because she found out that Travis Rudolph was talking to another woman. So in essence, her side dude had a side piece. She got upset, went to his house and confronted him about this, and they got into a little bit of a tussle outside of his house, all captured on the Ring camera. She then told her brothers what happened. They went over there, charged this dude up at his house, brought guns. Travis Rudolph, who in his defense shot and killed one of the gentlemen because he was defending himself. Now, he was tried for murder here in Florida, but he was acquitted because he was in the right. And so as a result, someone lost their life because, well, they decided to protect this woman and they weren't really protecting. What is my point? My point is this. If she had a real man in her life that would have created boundaries, he would have told her, look, that ain't worth it. It's just not worth it. There's that story, and there's many stories like that that could have been prevented. There's another story I want to share really quick of another woman. She was driving down again in Florida. A lot happens in Florida, y'all. Again in Florida, she was driving down the highway. I believe this was in Tampa, and she got into a road rage incident with some motorcycle riders. And she almost, tried to kind of run them off the road, being aggressive. They followed her, obviously, because she tried to run them off the road. When she got home, when they then confronted her, she got home, pulled her gun because they were approaching her house. They saw the gun, and then they shot her, and fearing for their safety. Guess what? They were never charged because Florida has stand your ground. Again, another incident in which a woman could have been told, look, don't be having road rage incidents. It's not that I'm trying to control you, I'm trying to protect you. And I'll land with this point. I often compare relationships, especially particularly marriages, as the captain first officer relationship. Both the people in the flight deck are pilots. They both have the ability to fly the plane, which husband and wives have the ability to, essentially lead a household. However, a captain is the buck stops with the captain because he has the ultimate authority to make sure that everyone on that plane, it is his call and his duty to make sure that people are safe. It is his ultimate responsibility. If something unsafe happens on the plane, that's on him. And that's how our community is designed. That's why whenever I describe our community, our relationship, it's 51-49. I get the extra percentage because I am charged with the safety and the protection of the community as the man. And so, in any events, hope you all have enjoyed this good conversation. China, Zuri, John, it's been a great conversation. Thank you, man, John, a great first episode. We're absolutely going to have you back. And to those of you listening on the multiple platforms, until next time, we will see you in the black space. Peace.
Please.
Peace.